God, I feel so stupid right now. So, okay. So I just had a really lovely conversation with Ted, aka Miki Fiki, whose music is, by the way, amazing. Just amazing. But I just realized that I had a conversation with him for the whole time, for the whole hour with this microphone on in front of me. And only to realize after the conversation that ended that all my audio had recorded from my computer recorder. Super high quality. Super high quality stuff it is. I'm so sorry, guys. So please, I apologize for the quality of my audio for this episode. It's going to be a wee bit rough. But Ted, aka Miki Fiki, has some pristine audio quality, so maybe that'll balance some things out, hopefully. I'm so sorry, guys. I'll try not to make this mistake the next time. But I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Ted, aka Miki Fiki. Can I just tell you before that this is like such a fangirl moment for me? This is like, I'm having like a weird moment. This is a fangirl moment. Like, I am such a huge fan of your music, and it's just it's weird. It's weird talking to you like this.
No, well, thank you. When I remember when you messaged me, I was like, Sue Lee. I was like, that sounds really familiar. And I like went on Spotify and I was like, that's her. I was like, that's the person. Because I had heard you on like Discover Weekly a couple months prior or something and had added you to my big old
What?
song. Yeah, yeah. And so I was like, nah, probably not. But like, I'd had to make sure and I checked and it was the same. And I said, okay, everything's aligning. So.
Oh my god! I had no idea that you actually were familiar with my music.
Yeah, well, I go through phases where like if I'm listening to new music, I'm really into it and I'll definitely like pay attention to which ones do I like, which ones do I not. Let's save these, let's not these. And I also go through periods where I'm just like a blob and music is just like hitting me in the face and I'm not absorbing any of it. And so luckily it was in one of those periods where yeah, it stuck out to me. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It's probably the most streamed one if I had to guess.
It's
Um,
probably, yeah, maybe it's probably All Just Dance. Is it the one with
yeah,
the orange cover, like with the crying baby
yep.
face?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
I'm looking at your banner photo, your cover photo, and I love it.
Which
It's
one
the
is it? Is it the one
galaxy.
in the box? Oh, the
No,
galaxy. That one is the one where I'm like riding a rocket ship or a pepper. It was the pepper, right?
the pepper. Yep.
Yeah, the pepper. I don't know where that came from. I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, it's not a combination of items I would have thought of myself, so I love it.
Oh yeah, you can write a paper. Who cares?
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm in Nashville now. I'm from Indiana originally. Uh, Came down here for school back in 2013, so I've been here I guess about 8 years. Um, and I'd had a band in high school, and it was folk music, and I loved Mumford and Sons and Avett Brothers and all
Yeah.
those guys, Lumineers.
Oh
And
yeah.
then got to college, and it was kind of like, all right, I'm out of songs because I wrote as many basically Mumford and Sons songs that I could, you know. I was like, all right, well,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
out. Like,
yeah.
and at the same time was surrounded by like just a million different types of music. Like not only moving to a city bigger than the one I came from, but also to a school where everybody is trying to be an artist as well. Um, it was kind of nuts. And so I spent a lot of time in college, like writing stuff, but not having a box really to put it in. Like I knew it didn't fit the folk band I had before that was kind of fizzling, and I didn't know what other place it fit. And so senior year was kind of like a time when a lot of people were kind of gathering up their resources like before we graduate, let's all make something and like put it out before we're out in the real world or whatever. And so that's kind of what I did with Miki Fiki. Um,
Okay, so
and
it's Miki Fiki because
yeah,
I was gonna ask like how it's actually pronounced. Like we were actually discussing before, like you came on the chat. Like if it's like, what if it's like I thought it was Miki Fiki, but what if I've been pronouncing it wrong? What if it's like Mikey Fikey or like I don't know, like the M is silent. It's like
right,
icky or something. Just wanted to ask.
right.
Okay, so it's Miki Fiki. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. You're not the first, and usually I don't correct anybody because I'm like, it's not phonetic at all. Like, a lot of people say Miki Fiki because of like Tiki Torch.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's whatever people think it is.
So
But
you wouldn't correct me if I told you like if I came up to you as a fan, which I am, be like, "Oh my gosh, I love your song, Mikey, My Guy Fi Guy." Would you not correct me? My
yeah,
Guy
it's
Fi Guy
happened.
songs are the best.
Yeah, it's happened before, where the person,
Really?
well, it's where the person they're with knows and they don't, and they've never said it out loud to each other somehow.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's, and then they say it to me, and I'm just like thankful they're at the show listening. I'm like, you can call the songs whatever you want. Like, I'm just glad you're here, and then their friend will correct them, and then they'll look at me, and I'll have to look back and act like I wasn't just like keeping a secret from them. But yeah, so that happens more than I'd like to admit. But yeah, so started Miki Fiki and started playing shows after graduating and putting out music, and then yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. Just been doing that for 4 or 5 years.
Did you study music then?
No, I was music business. Like I did
Whoa.
like choir and stuff in high school, but
Uh-huh.
I wasn't in like the school of music. I was in the business school that had a emphasis in the music industry kind of thing going. So yeah.
How did you find it? Did you enjoy it?
I always hesitate when this is a this is a conversation that happens like every 6 months with either one of my friends I graduated with or like my family. Um,
Uh-huh.
or this situation.
Uh-huh. You don't
Definitely.
have to like if you don't feel comfortable sharing your thoughts.
No, I would love to. It's just
Yeah,
never
yeah, go
usually
for it.
it's never usually public. So I'm like, yeah, let's go in. No, it was awesome. The way I look at it is like if you wanted to work in the industry, which I've got like friends who went straight to, whatever, they'll work for a publisher or a label. It's like just want to have a job around music. Then it's really helpful. Like, cause you do get a lot of internships. You
Yeah.
take classes specifically for what you're doing, which there's not a ton of schools that do that still. But if you're an artist like us trying to like be an artist,
Make it.
um,
Yeah, try
yeah,
to just make a living out of this thing.
just like have
Yeah.
some kind of consistent creativity and like audience that's around. Um, it it it's only helpful for like, at least for me, a lot of the lessons are like what you do when you get to the top, but there's not a lot of the in between to get
Mm.
there. So it's like how to read a contract from a major label. But like I need to know how to like book a show. And they'll spend some time on that, but it's a lot of just like how to not get screwed over by Sony. And it's like, I know, but like
Yeah.
I'm I'm not talking to
But
Sony
like
right now.
but it's like some people are gonna have to start somewhere, right? And
Mhm.
not many will start from a major deal with Sony or Universals. Like that's the thing that
Mhm.
gets me. Like it's like you go to university, they teach you like the high end stuff, like the stuff that doesn't really help you to get the actual start at
Mhm.
things. It's like,
Mhm.
it's like, we'll just try to we're just speculating that you're gonna start
Yeah.
from the elite level stuff,
Right.
and you're just gonna
Right.
skip the steps that that takes you to that level, and we're just
Yeah.
gonna teach you whatever that's in the result of things. And that doesn't
Right.
like
Right.
for someone who is going into a specific course to learn how to actually take those right steps, it doesn't
Mhm.
seem it seems a bit counterintuitive to
Mhm.
learn all like just a specific part of the industry because the indie scene is pretty big too. But
Yeah.
there's not much info out there to like just for people to navigate their way around the indie scene.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, do you remember like when you were starting out, like how many things you just have to Google? Like just
Oh
basic
yeah.
procedures? Like that's
Damn,
that's what I would notice was like, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, those YouTube tutorials, man. And also like it's so
Mm-hmm.
confusing. Like everybody has like, "Oh, which distributor should we go? Oh, DistroKid is the shit, man." Everyone else is like, "Oh, you got to use like a CD Baby or something." I'm like, I'm so confused.
Right.
I don't know what to do. And it's like, You
Right.
gotta make your own decision and you don't know what to do. Like, you don't know how to, like, oh, what the hell is a wave file? Like, I don't know what the hell that
Mm-hmm.
is. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
just the basic stuff. But, like, those are things that you need to teach yourself if you don't have the right information from the get-go. And
Right.
yeah, the
Right.
stuff that you have to Google, man, it's
Well,
seems like a
and
no-brainer now, but when you're starting out, those things are, like, important, you know?
yeah. Well, and like the things that are normal now are like the whether it's like negotiating a rate with like someone that I'm bringing on tour or trying to figure out like the cost for a whole record done a certain way where we do the like there's still wiggle room. It's not like I'm like finally I found the right answer, but
Mm.
at least now I know that's tension that will be there. And I feel like when you're starting out, at least for me, you're either hearing even outside of like Belmont, if you're just like in existence trying to be an artist and you Google like how to book a tour or anything, um, it's it's like
Damn, those
people want.
WikiHow answers do hit
I
you.
know,
WikiHow.
I know.
I want to ban WikiHow because like that
Yeah,
shit never helps you ever.
no, no. I just feel like it's like just get the reps in, like just do a bunch of stuff a bunch of times, and then like. But I was like spending so much time trying to have like the right formatting for
Mm.
my Excel sheet for the like just. Anyways, that's one thing that's helped a lot is like I still don't know any answers, but at least now I know that I probably won't, as opposed to before when I'm like, there's probably a right way, I just don't know it yet, you know?
Yeah, I'm slowly starting to realize that there is probably no right way because if there was a right way, then every artist with universals with like super big records would be doing the same
Mm-hmm.
thing and they would break every single artist. Like the
Mm-hmm.
fact
Mm-hmm.
that not all artists that are under major labels actually get a break is the very proof that there is no right answer. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
And
Which is
it does
exciting.
kind of, yeah, it's exciting, but also at the same time, it can induce like some stress and some anxiety. Like, okay, if there is no right answer, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. Like, oh,
Right.
what do I do?
Right.
And it's
Right.
just, what would you say? What would be your answer? What would be
I
like
mean,
if somebody came up to you and be like, I have no idea. What should I do? What'd you
yeah.
say?
I mean, the quickest way I've learned anything is when other people are around. Whether it's like booking a show with another band and just seeing how other people interact in that situation or behave. And same with like collaborating, like even working with you, like the process is different for like each person I've worked with, but it's
Mm,
been like it's shown me like places I had strengths that I didn't know that I could use, and it also showed me obviously everywhere I needed to work on. And it's like no amount of like research or even just writing songs by yourself can like give you that insight of like, oh, like this is how Sue Lee works. Like that's so much easier for me. I should try to do that more often for like you. I couldn't just ask you like, how do you work? Does that work for me too? Like you can't get there any quicker way than. So that's probably what I would say, and that's what I am trying to do now is just be involved with more people in any step of the process because you just learn so much from them that yeah, you can't. Why waste your time trying to figure it out yourself?
yeah, no, it's so that is the correct answer. I mean, I'm not in a position to say, "Oh, you are correct," but like I that hits home for me because it's like I always like to say, like I've been saying this like on every single episode, but I always like to say that like we as individuals, no, regardless of whether or not you're an artist, it's like we're all an individual little planets, and when we
Mm-hmm.
collaborate or when we meet or interact with another human being who has his or their own planet, it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a clash. And sometimes that clash doesn't work out. It could just not work
Right.
out. The chemistry is just not there. But sometimes you just figure it out and it becomes like this chemistry that just becomes this like magical
Mm-hmm.
experience that is like
Mm-hmm.
no other experience because it's like two individuals with different personalities, different artistic visions, different visions meeting each other, and it just creates this little baby. I don't know.
Right,
Just,
right.
it kind of sounds a bit weird now that I said baby, but it's like if a
Yeah.
musicians are working together to create their music babies, you know? Like I know it sounds like
Mm-hmm.
no sexual connotations or anything like that, but like
Right.
just it's like we're creating something that is a mesh of our own little interests and
Mm-hmm.
quirks. And so
Mm-hmm.
there is no same baby. There is no same
Right.
music baby. There is no same collaboration. There is no same something.
Right. Right.
That's what I
Well, and
like to
that,
think.
yeah. Well, and that's something. It's tough for me because I know, like, oops, sorry. I know historically, like, well, the whole reason I got into music was because it was amazing to feel what you can feel when you create something by yourself, and you're just like, okay,
Mm.
duh, like I should probably do this like forever, and it's easy for me, like, if I'm not actively working with somebody or talking to somebody, whether it's this or in person or whatever, or even just an email thread, like some kind of
Yeah.
contact with the outside
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
then I can kind of forget that the benefit of that and just go straight back to like just make it happen. Like just will it to happen. This magic feeling, it happened before. That's why you do music, make the song, whatever it is, you know. Some project that's just me from start to finish. How awesome. And it's almost like a vice at this point because like yeah, I can do that, but it's like abusing a gift. It's like, yeah, yeah, like I want to let that happen when it should happen. I don't want to like be insular and not work with other people and like put all of that pressure onto myself. Like, you know, it feels like uh unfair, but you know, and but I'll be afraid, you know, it's anxiety inducing to like collaborate in general with something this special to you, but then you do it and at least for me it's like you can't like remember a feeling that's new every single time. So I'm always going to be scared going into it, but every time
Yeah.
after I'm like, "Oh,
Hell
awesome. That was
yeah. Those are
new as
blast.
well." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say like I haven't had many sessions myself. Like I'm only like 2 years into this, so I'm
Mhm.
still a baby at this. Like I don't know shit basically. I don't know shit about the business side of things. I don't know how to make money as a musician yet. I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know. I really don't know. I don't know how long I can sustain this. It actually does feel like I'm sustaining my career, not really like actually working as a musician. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
feel like
Right.
it feels like I'm trying to like extend the deadline, not be
Mhm.
like, okay, this is a forever thing. I'm a musician now. I can do this forever.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
still learning, and I still haven't had that many like songwriting sessions or collab sessions myself, especially in
Mhm.
person.
Mhm.
But I have had some good experiences, but I've also had some bad experiences too. And those bad
Mm.
experiences, it's like, you know, it's bound to happen. You know, like they
Yeah.
all apparently they always say like songwriting sessions, collaboration sessions are like speed dating, which at first like weirded me out, but I think having experienced one of those like bad sessions have made me
Mhm.
realize, okay, I know what that means. I know what you mean when you say that. It's like
Yeah.
you just don't get the vibe. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just like it just
Mhm.
happens. And
Mhm.
those kind of experiences sometimes makes me kind of recoil a little bit and be like, hey, I can actually do this on my own. I can just make this
Yeah.
happen on my own. So why bother?
Mhm.
But then, you know, I remember the good times. I remember the good experiences, and it's like it's so
Mhm.
worth it. And you're gonna have some bad experiences even on your own. So like
Right.
it goes
Right.
both ways, right?
Right. Yeah. Do you have any tricks for getting through either a bad experience by yourself or a bad co-write or collaboration?
Usually the bad experiences actually come from being on my own, to be honest. Like it's
Mm.
one of those things where you think you're gonna do better when you're on your own because you do have the capabilities to, I don't know, produce on your own, play the instruments on your own, record on your own, mix and master on your own. Depends
Mhm.
on your skills, but if you can do all these things by yourself, that doesn't mean that it's going to go smoothly. Because the thing about, I think it's about reliability. It's like when you're in a session with someone, you're expected to make something. You're there to like do business. We're here to make something happen. But when you're doing things on your own from beginning till end, it's like, oh, I don't know. I'm in charge of all this, so I can like, I don't know, I'll just it makes it
Yeah.
easier for me to slack off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Makes it easier. And I don't know. I've actually, I'm in that right now. I'm experiencing that right now where I'm like, oh, I have all these like demos that I've made, including what we're working on right now. Like
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
downloaded the stems and I know I can sit down and write to this, but why am I not? Like
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I literally on my my to-do list right now is I think I literally called it have a proper vocal session
Oh
because
yeah.
I can, like I won't do it. Because a lot of times, or what's happened lately anyways, was like I'd record the scratch vocals and then send the stems off to my buddy who does a lot of the mixing and production as well, uh and he's just really good, so like the vocals sound fine, and I'm like, cool, vocals work, like I don't have to re-record those, less work, let's churn out more stuff. And they always do, they sound great, like I'm like happy with them. But I think because of that process, I'm like, whatever, I can just wing it when it's the deadline to do vocals, because I would rather just like find sounds and make instrumental stuff. I don't want to stand up and perform all the time.
That is exactly what it is. Recording sessions. It's grueling.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always end up like sweating after I do my recording sessions.
yep,
I'm
yep.
like sweating. My armpits are literally dripping. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I haven't
Yeah,
eaten for like 7 hours. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a grueling experience. And once you
yeah.
experience a few sessions, like you're like, oh damn, I don't want to record today.
Right, right.
Just wanna
I
skip it.
yeah, yeah. I so badly want the dream of like the old school where they would just write and record the record in like a month and then tour it for 3 years. And I'm like, yeah, like I was like, I'll do
Lazy
that.
boy
Like,
way.
yeah, I'm like, just freaking pack it in, because that really is. I think of like any time over college, especially, it would be like coming home for winter break and just having only 2 weeks or whatever. Well, I guess it was like a month, only a month, and where it's uninterrupted free time, and so I would get so much more done because it's like it's scarce. And now it's like, yeah, I like do my job and I do this music and I can kind of do it at whatever pace I want. And so, yeah, it does get really hard to just not like the moment you have a bad, like, I'm not feeling great. It's hard not to just be like, it's not today, and walk away. Like,
Mm.
it's so easy for me to be like, it's got to feel right and just get out. But
It's
if I,
gotta
I
feel
know,
right. Yeah, you gotta have it. Oh, today's not the day. I don't feel like making music, and I'm an artist, so I can be as
yeah,
spontaneous as I want. Like I'm just not in the mood, and I know because I'm not in the artist mood today.
right,
I'm just not
right.
gonna sound. I'm gonna sound like shit anyway. So I'm gonna wait until I have that artist moment, and
Yeah, yeah.
that day never comes. I
Nope.
swear that day never comes. Although I do want to ask you a question. Do you think you consider yourself as a perfectionist?
I definitely used to. I know my limits now. I
Uh
know when
huh.
to like cut myself off generally now, but that didn't come until I had my buddy Wes, like someone else to bounce stuff off of all the time. Um, cause yeah, I definitely used to be not, I won't say I'm not still like hung up on that stuff, but I used to not know that's what I was doing. And so it would like hinder a lot of songs or rehearsals because I'd like really want to get it exactly right. And it would kind of ruin the groove of the moment, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um, and so the only reason I hesitate to say that I'm not a perfectionist is because now if something's going kind of wrong, but the big picture is good, I really try to be like, the big picture's good. Ted, remember, like, chill out the bit. Um, and I
But
don't
you
always do
still
that.
need to remind yourself of that though, right?
Yeah, yeah, to not lose the whole thing for this tiny
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was gonna say, I don't think this is the solution to like putting off work as an artist, whether that may be production or top lining, songwriting, or
Mm-hmm.
recording, or finalizing, sequencing, whatever. But I think most of the time we kind of like cover it up with like, oh, I'm not having one of those days. I'm not having one of those artist days. But you when you actually dig deeper inside, it's actually your fear of like not doing it well enough, not
Mm-hmm.
nailing it. That's why it takes
Mm-hmm.
me like freaking 6 hours for me to record a single song because it's like I take like 27 takes of like the same lead vocal part. And I don't
Right.
have to. I know somewhere in there I've got the right track. But it's just
Right.
like, just in case, let me take one more take. And that becomes like the 27th take. Oh, and
Right.
I've got to take another 27th take of 27 takes of the harmony, the doubles, the second harmony, the third harmony, and the fourth harmony, and
Right.
also the ad libs. I got to take 6 takes of the ad libs just in case, and I never
Right.
end up using all of them. And it's the
Right.
thing, like the thing is, usually when you, for me, it's like usually when you give yourself like a time limit, like okay, I don't care how shitty I sound, I'm gonna record this thing ended in the next hour
Mm-hmm.
and a half. I'm
Mm-hmm.
literally gonna set the timer and I'm gonna record it. And I'm gonna have to record everything. If I don't finish it by that time, you should be disappointed in yourself.
Right.
It's kind of like
Right.
that thing where I set the timer and I know that's not enough time for my usual like satisfactory level, but I
Mm-hmm.
do it anyways. And usually it's fine. Like it's
Right.
fine.
Right.
It's like
No, that's
sometimes you even have to rush, but it's fine.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I noticed too, like the songs, because there was one song that I put out on my Tedador project that I went through um like take by take, comping the vocals basically word for word, finding the best way that I said like each word. And like I try to keep it like, you know, to phrases. I was like, don't go word by word, but like after a certain point, you're like, I think there's a better version of the. And
Yep.
I listen
Duh.
back now. Yeah, it's that like stupid. It's not stupid in the moment. And it might not be stupid for anyone. You know, like it's just for me. I went back and listened, and you do a side by side, and you can never tell. It's like
Yeah.
like never. It was always like fundamentally was the song like the right song to flesh out this much, but never like, and then in the fleshing out process you actually ruined the song. Like I've never done that yet. Each time I'm fleshing it out, I'm like, make sure you don't ruin it at this stage, and it's like,
Mm.
no, like you're not going to put in bad stuff, and if you can do better in 3 months, like good, you're getting better. But it's just, yeah, I'd still fall into that trap of like, maybe like another take though, and it's like your first one was probably fine. Like,
That moment when you finished a grueling 3 hours of vocal processing, it's like literally the your lead vocal track looks like it's like like I don't know, like a like a stack of papers because you cut the
yeah,
audio so many times. It's like literally like little lines.
yep,
Have you had
yep,
that moment? Like it's just like, damn, I've been working on this for. I kind of feel proud of myself, but also looking at this from afar, it really wasn't necessary. I really
right,
didn't have to do that, did I?
right, right.
It's like
You're
I
just
don't
serious. It's like
look at
every
the big
single little,
picture. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and the only thing that's really like kind of driven that point home to me, because like I can do it over and over and still be like, I think it helped the song. I think it helped the song. But it was when I started being able to listen a little better to bands I'd loved my whole life.
Mm.
And just as I could pick out more in recordings over time, it was like, oh, like they didn't nail it. Cause I could see like, oh, like this guy did nail it over here on this other song. So I know there's a difference, but like I didn't notice there was a difference. I'm consciously sitting there like trying to analyze it. And it's like, that's like not who I'm writing songs for, is like
Yeah.
fellow engineers, though I would love people to think stuff is well done. But yeah, I would be hearing my favorite band and they would quote mess up. And it's like, oh, I didn't care. And it's like, oh, then
Yeah,
people won't, you know, like, I'm just
I
glad
think
it's
it's
not
so easy.
perfect.
It's so easy for us, like when when we're the one making the art, when we're the one making the music. It's like so easy
Mm-hmm.
to get into that mindset of the creator, but really at the end of the day, we are also the audience of our own music, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important for us to like put ourselves um, into this perspective of an audience and the listener, be like, would I
Yeah.
actually care if I like if I'm like a tempo late at this part? Like, would I actually care? And I'm like,
Right.
no. Like that's why I love, that's actually literally the reason why I love music by people like Joji or like Tyler the
Mm.
Creator or like Grimes or like Jack Stauber or
Yeah.
all these people. Like they mess up, they just like, but they just keep it and it's fine. The
Mm-hmm.
song is good. It's like a, a, a good song is a good song. Like a
Right.
little bleep in the production, a little bleep in the tempo, a little bleep in the vocals is not gonna turn a good song into a shit song. It's still gonna be a
Mm-hmm.
good song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the audience really doesn't mind. They're like, oh, they're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, oh disgusting. I
Right.
heard some crack in the in like for a millisecond in that at that point. Disgusting. I'm never
Right.
listening to this song ever again. Nobody's like that. But in
Right.
our minds, when we're making a song, it's like, damn, this has to go. I gotta re-record for another hour and a half for
Yeah.
this little part. It's like
Yeah.
nobody cares.
They're gonna see I'm a fraud. Like they're gonna know I'm not a real musician if they hear
Yeah,
that. It's like,
yeah, I know. And who the hell is a real musician? Who does like it? They don't give a
mm-hmm.
frick. They don't give. Nobody gives a frick. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I think we sometimes have to lower our own expectations to give ourselves more sanity, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
even make better music. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. No, just to like let it happen. And I know everyone says that, but like letting something happen is harder because, at least for me, because I'm so used to the process of creativity being like euphoric. Um, and it is early on for sure, in whatever form it takes. Like, and for me, it was music. But then when it's not euphoric, and I'd read interviews of guys where it's like they're just we're working musicians. We just want to like we're making it happen. Da da da. And I was always like, yeah, like that's what I'm doing. But for me, it was really exciting. But I'm 26 now, and especially like after the pandemic, where like live shows are what I'm in this for. Like I love the other stuff too, but I want to play shows. So when we couldn't, I was like, this sucks. And then it was just funny to see like, nah, man, like you're not doing anything. You have to find a way to do music in a way that you like enough to not just be making excuses. But it's not a show, but it's not a show. And I did. Like it really forced me to enjoy all these other aspects, which is kind of like what led me down this road to now being on this podcast with you, was like, if I had truly mean what I'm saying, like where I'm like, yeah, I want to do this for a living, then
Mm,
like I better find other things to enjoy about it than just writing songs, because that's only fun like every couple days slash weeks, sometimes months or years. Like it's not enough. And yeah, I think that was like part of my naiveness, was just being like, yeah, I bet I'll just like write songs forever and that'll fulfill me. And it's like, nah, man, like you can write a million songs, but like, yeah, anyways, that's, I don't mean to ramble, but that's just kind of something that yeah.
no, I completely feel you because I was like, when man, it just like, I know this wasn't a long time ago, but when I was first starting out writing music,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I don't understand why these artists like release an album a year and an album has only like 10 songs. What the hell? They could be more productive than that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I can write a song about anything. Like, I can write a song every single day. I can whip out a finished song every single day, have like
Mm.
6 albums ready by the end of the month.
Yeah.
But you also gotta live. You also gotta live in order to make music that resonates with you, to have stuff that you really care about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we kind of forget, that like as artists, yes, it's important to make money. It's important to like make profit, but also you wouldn't be making music if you didn't enjoy it in the first
Mm-hmm.
place. And when this
Mm-hmm.
becomes purely work for this, just you're doing it for the sake of doing it, then why bother doing it? Because you
Yeah.
can be doing other things and do music as a hobby. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
still have a fun time,
Mm-hmm.
but you gotta do other things. And it's
Yeah.
actually, I like to say that it's a plus that nowadays, even more, that we gotta do other things as artists. Like we can't just be
Mm-hmm.
making music. We gotta be making videos. We gotta be doing podcasts. We gotta be doing other stuff in as an artist nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
like we gotta be doing TikToks, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still doing TikTok thing. I'm still getting my
So-
head around it. I'm like everyone around me is like, you gotta get on TikTok. You gotta get on TikTok. I'm like, let me just get my head around this thing. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like you gotta do other things nowadays, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
plus. It's
Mm-hmm.
like people love seeing you not just do music, not just perform, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, eat cheesecake on camera. People love
Right.
conversations like these. People love seeing you do other things as an artist. Like I'd love to see you like Miki Fiki doing other things, you know?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like it's a benefit, and you can still take you can take a break, quote unquote, from making music from time to time, and it doesn't really, could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a day, but at least it gives you some time off and kind of
Yeah.
recalibrate a little bit, and
Right.
then you can also at the same time be kind of building up your career as a musician
Mm-hmm.
and come back with a fresh mind, fresh ears, and be ready to make something
Right.
good
Right. Well, that's what
again.
like balance is one of those things that I didn't
Yeah.
really value until recently. And only because of even like with all the options that you just mentioned where it's, you not you have to do a million different things, but you get to like you because it's not just let me make my perfect song or my perfect record and be praised for this tiny tiny part of my life that I got to craft myself, but everything else is like secret and private. Like I'm not like pro let my life be vlogged or anything, but
Mm.
I do think there's some benefit to having to be a little more visible, if you want to be an artist like with an audience, because not only do the songs have to be good, but everyone can have a good song. They also need to be whatever they need to be. And um, I think because of all that extra pressure, the TikTok pressure and the, Instagram when you're just doing nothing, it doesn't have to be, here's my big music announcement. In fact, you shouldn't do that every time. It's like because of all these other demands that stress me out, it's also made me
Mm.
try to, it's made me like, it's kind of like a pressure cooker to like build a life that can sustain that and find ways to enjoy those things. And so it's like, okay, well, I better figure out how to be a little more authentic real quick because I can't like confidently hop on a podcast like this and talk for an hour and not worry about what I'm going to say unless I know I'm here for the right reason. And
Mm.
also, I can't set up a vocal session or try to finish a EP by myself unless I'm like zooming out and still being like, yep, that's good for you. Like that's a healthy thing for you. You're not hiding away. You're creating something. And like I'm constantly checking in to see if my heart's in it, basically, and not whether or not I
Yeah.
love music, but yeah, whether these activities are actually nourishing and luckily 9 times out of 10 they are. And even the bad writes, like I learn how to push through a bad write, and it's like awesome.
That's
Like
awesome.
now, like it'll
Yeah.
like it'll never feel that bad again because I learned from it. Okay, and I don't know. I think that's something that I didn't really check before, and what you said earlier made me think of something when you said doing it just to do it. That definitely happened with touring.
Mm.
Because I grew up loving bands that were famous for their live shows, and like that's all I went to an Avett Brothers concert and saw it and started a band like the next week in high school. Like it was very much tied to that. And so Once I figured out kind of how to self-book, even just, basements in college kids' houses, the whatever, just like get me in that city. I'll play a show. I don't care if there's a proper PA system, like we'll make it happen. Once I was able to do that consistently enough, like I wanted to do it all the time. And because I just want to be on the road. And it got to a point where we had to sit down and actively be like, okay, what do we want out of shows? Because now we're just kind of playing them, and we're also starving, or we're like sleep deprived for the 10th weekend in a row. And like, what are we doing? And it just been so long since I looked at like, what is your goal when you go to a show? Just like, what's the goal of this? What's the goal of booking, or of writing a song? Like, and now it's become more of a habit, to ask that on the front end instead of to get pretty deep into it and be like, what am I doing here? But I just feel like that wouldn't have come without having to like the talking. I feel like every artist gets a talking to about TikTok where it's like reluctant, and like no one's ever like ahead of the curve. Like, yeah, I got on TikTok and it was awesome, and my manager didn't have to tell me about it. Like, it's like, like I feel like every artist is like, fine, I'll do it. But and it's not. It's like, it's not all bad, but even that's something where I was like, I don't know if I have the choice to not do it. So if I'm going to do it, I know what I don't want to do. Like I see the type of TikTok content that I just don't have the energy to create, but I got to do it. So find something to do that is your energy that and it just really, it made me think about like, Ted, how can you be authentic like 4 times a week for 30 seconds on camera? Like, what's that going to be? 'Cause like, you can't not do it. And I don't know. All that to say, it's like being put through the pressure cooker is sometimes a good thing for sorting these things out.
Yeah, I feel you. It's like, and also like when you said the touring, you kind of had to sit back and like actually think about like, why are we doing this? And I don't think the purpose has to be some deep level, like philosophical take on life. Like, why are we living this way? What's the purpose of music? What is music to us? It doesn't have to be anything deep. It could be just really, it could be just one thing, like just to have fun, to enjoy it. And I think although like there are certain things that you like TikTok, like there are things that could benefit you as an artist from a business perspective, from an audience perspective, from just as an artist. There are certain things that you do have to kind of do in order to make your music heard sometimes, make yourself be known. But I think enjoyment can come by being aware of the fact that you can find enjoyment in everything. And sometimes no matter how much you try, you can't find it. It's just not there. And I think that's not worth doing it. It's not worth the time. It's just not worth the effort. But I think it's always worth trying to like, hey, I know like from the, like my first instinct is like, I hate this. I don't like this. I don't want to do this. But let's see how much fun I can get out of this. Let's see what's the funnest way for me to do this. And then I'll do it. If it's not fun, I won't do it again. But I might actually end up having a blast.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's I remember there was a moment in a write the other day where like you just know, you're like, oh man, we had like the verse looping or something, trying to come up with something, and I was like, I think we both just started waiting for the other person to come up with something. We're both staring at the screen and like kind of humming. Yeah, exactly.
About time.
So yeah. And like I felt that kick in, and obviously when that happens when you're by yourself, you probably just get up. But you can't just walk away from somebody that you're in a room with. And but it was that like it made me, it wasn't like, will this song fit into my legacy? Like, how does this work for my long? It was simply like, how can I have fun? Like, I'm here. We booked 3 hours. I'm here for 3 hours. Like, we're gonna, and then your brain like has to do real work. And you feel it like flip where you're like, okay, I'm back engaged in a totally new way than what I expected, because like that way was not going to work. And I don't know, it's its own kind of like little joyful like magic when you're like, hey, I just checked back in. I'm aware again. Like I'm not just like sitting here thinking about how it's not working, and that's like its own victory.
And it's such a thin line too. Like that little mindset change. It's such a thin line. It's like from being in a mind in a headspace where like, oh, I gotta make the master song, like the masterpiece of my life in the next 3 hours. So like I'm just gonna have fun. I don't care. Let's just shoot the shit. I'm like, okay, don't you like this melody? Like, da 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 da. It's like, yeah, let's just make it and just do it. It's like, it doesn't matter if it comes out as shit. It's, at least we made something by the end of the third hour. You know? Like, I don't care. Let's mess this up. Let's actually mess this up and see what we come up with, what comes out of it.
Yeah.
It's like such a thin line. It's change of a mindset.
Yeah, the value in it's crazy too of simply just making something, because that's part of the reason when you asked like what I would tell someone and I said reps, like it's like that's why I would say like write as many songs as you can, because eventually, at least for me, like this is what would happen was like verse, chorus, like sit down at the piano. Awesome. I had like a verse idea and a chorus idea. Let's like jot it down. Great. Okay, let's go start producing it. Okay, how's the second verse gonna happen? And I'd be sitting there like, like different drums, like different keyboard part, like, okay, what are the words gonna be? Like the whole thing at one time, section by, instead of just being like copy paste, I will add things in, I will subtract things, and like, I just feel like tricks like that where you're saying like, yes, even masterpieces can come from just copying and pasting a form out so you can then work on the song. Like, let's just get concretely. And I feel like I just totally didn't see that as an option, because in my head, I'm like, now we're stuck with that second verse and that second chorus the way it is, and it's just copy and paste. And it's like, dude, there's so much time left until the song is done. Like, you can change whatever, and it's because you're not thinking, how do I make this fit my grand masterpiece? It's like, how do I have fun? Because I'm going to have to do this again tomorrow, so I better like it. It's like,
yeah, sure. It's like, there's this phrase, what was it? Kill your darlings. It's like, yes, it's so easy for you to like be so precious about this little piece of work that you've created in the last hour and a half. It's like, you put effort into it no matter how little or how much. But it's like sometimes they just exist in order for you to move on. You just got to leave them behind. And I think that's the beauty of like having a platform on Instagram or YouTube, not just like on Spotify, because if you really do want to share these like little shitty babies, you can just share them and like not release it as like an official single or whatever, and just be like, hey, I just whipped this up and the other day. I don't feel really good about it enough to like release it, but here you go. Bye-bye. and then we move on to creating the next shitty or good darlings, and then you'll probably get rid of it too, or it could turn into a really good darling that you finish and release.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, how often do you ever go back to like ideas you had when you were first starting out and they are good now too? Or is it usually just like newest idea, we're making it happen?
I usually don't like revisiting. It's like, it's kind of like the remnants like of my past. And I always want to write stuff that is that resonates with me right now as I'm writing it. So usually I find that most of the past like drafts or little sketches that I've written in the past don't hit me as hard as it did at the time of the writing. So I usually just make the stuff at the moment. I whip it out at the moment, and then I sketch it out concretely enough for me to be dedicated to it for the next like to like proceed it to the next level. If it's like too rough, then I'll be like, oh, it's not worth it. I'll just leave it behind. But if it's like concrete enough, if I put enough effort into it, then I'll feel some level of kind of affection towards it and to finish it. But I usually never like revisit my past songs. It just doesn't hit me as hard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I'll say honestly, that's one of the best the best benefits of working with anybody besides yourself all the time. Like, yeah, exactly. Is um old songs where I'm just like, clearly if I loved this song, I would have tried to make it happen by now.
Mm,
My melody idea that I loved at the time, that's why I even bounced a demo of it ahead of time, like, but like I didn't pursue it. I didn't remember it the week after or the month after, and I don't know why, because when I went back and listened through a bunch of the old stuff, I was like, this is pretty good. And so like my process is kind of more towards more what yours is, where it's like, get it out while it's there, because you're not going to like have that feeling again. Um, and but it's been so nice to have some of those old just like instrumentals where I'm like, I can like feel my heart in that. I just can't sing to it because I don't have like those ideas currently. It's just been such a like nice little release valve. Like, okay, that moment's not lost forever. Even if no one else makes
mm.
anything with it either, at least I got to like give it a second chance with some other planet, some other universe to like make it work.
Yeah, and I will tell you this though, like there are those like process songs, like songs in progress, they come in degrees. So there are songs that
Mm,
I've actually finished recording, finished producing, but like I fucked up during like mixing. And I'm like, mixing is such a pain in the bum. It's so
mm-hmm,
painfully difficult for me. And like the
mm-hmm.
more tracks there are, the more headache there is. And there are songs that I'm not gonna lie, I've been putting off. And it's like
Yeah,
literally finished. I just need to mix it and master it, but it's just too grueling for me. There are songs that
right.
like really love, but it's just like it's not the right time.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
not ready for that stress.
yeah.
There are a couple of songs like that, and I used to be very impatient about releasing songs. Like, oh God, I gotta release this song right now. Like this
Mm-hmm.
month, it has to come out. But like, the file is there. It's literally there.
Yeah,
You can revisit it anytime. Like you
right,
can revive it
right,
if
right.
if you find a better mixer, if you find a better producer to work with, you can wait for
Mm-hmm.
that to happen and revive it at any time you want.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I think it's there are definitely times when I do want to like sometimes review like for sometimes I would feel like a lazy as shit and I would be like, oh, what, I'll just send you. What do you think about this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and and it's like, oh, I just actually couldn't be bothered to turn my microphone on and actually record a
Right,
stem for
right,
it. It's like, just
right.
we'll send you a little sketch that I did 6 months ago. What do you think?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
usually shit.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's like the reason I've never. Anytime I've tried to bite off mixing, I always just like I know at least right now I don't. Yeah, I just yeah. The process sounds awful. Like, and not in a bad way, but just like you can get it right or you can get it very wrong. Like
Yes.
it feels less to me like, yes, there's gut and emotion. And well, tell me, like, does it feel intuitive or does it feel like surgical and homework and a chore?
It feels surgical and
Okay.
homework and a chore. And it's like, for me, like production and songwriting is a very
Mm-hmm.
intuitive process. It's like all the things that we've just said being like you don't have to be perfect. You can have bleeps, you can have little like things that are like cracking up and like it's just it can be clipping, it doesn't matter. But like mixing the engineering part,
Mm-hmm.
the better you do it, the better the song sounds. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the part that really gets me, and the fact that it can always be better. It can always kind of enhance the sound of the song. That technical part really gets me. That really
Yeah.
stresses me out, and that's the element that makes it feel more like a chore than the creative parts.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's one
That's
too.
why,
It's fun. No,
yeah,
go ahead.
go for it.
Well, I was just thinking that's funny because that's like it's almost the opposite of what you'd expect, where like with something that surgical, you in my head I would think okay, you can just sit down and just plug away at it. It's like just checking off problems. But you really do have to have like the right ears for it that day. And let's hope you're in a good headspace because I've had that even with doing like mixed revisions with my buddy Wes, and then we'll just step away from the song for a month or two and come back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what notes was I giving you? Like, what was I hearing? And that's just given me a whole new appreciation for people, like anyone who mixes their own stuff, and also just mixing engineers in general who are like, who can trust their ears every time they mix, or at least have like such a good process that it like safeguards against that kind of like, oh, today's a bad day. It's like, no, I still know I'm hearing the right stuff, like that's but for production stuff, it's like, yeah, I'll whip out an idea and maybe I'll send it to someone in 6 months. Like, I don't care. Like, let's make it happen. And with mixing, anytime I've tried to like even just clean up my demos before I send the stems to somebody, it's like, I just see where I'm gonna either work on this for a day or like 2 months.
Yes. And like, you are the one who sets the timeline. You can and it's like, I always have there's one artist that I always refer to when I'm like stuck in this like hellish loop of like, oh, I gotta perfect the mixing. The panning has to be in the right the right proportion. It's not panned right enough. I gotta use more EQs. I gotta use this that speed more EQ. And I always listen to like songs by Jack Stauber. I don't know if you're familiar with his songs, but like there's this one like huge song of his called Buttercup, and it goes like, forget it, I'll do it sometime. It's like, and it's like, I'm not, I love Jack Stauber. I love his music. I love his like animation style, and he creates his own animations. But like, on a mixing perspective, on like a engineering perspective, it's not a Dua Lipa song. It's not an Ariana Grande song. And it's like, but people love that song. People don't care. Like, even with the engineering parts, people don't care. A good song is a good song. It's fine. It's fine. I think sometimes like there are songs where I feel a little more grandiose, and I have a specific visions for how it should sound. Like, I want it to sound grander. I want it to sound more orchestral, more broad, more wide, and more studio level. Those, I think I'm just like keeping in file at the moment to just find the right mixer or the right partners to like just revisit in the future. In the meantime, I'm just gonna like, that's the beauty of like bedroom pop, like what is bedroom pop? Nobody knows. It's like, there's no genre. It's a genre, but it's not really a genre. You can mix in some jazz in there. You can mix in some hip hop in there. You can mix in some little modern pop. You can mix in some whatever. And it can be justified as being bedroom pop or indie pop.
Right. Yeah, I remember when that was like, did you ever listen to Never Shout Never?
No.
He was like he was and is still kind of like I don't anything I'm going to say. He was like one of my favorite artists growing up, but he was very much of like a emo, like teenage time kind of guy, not like a guy I'll listen to when I'm 40 necessarily. I mean, I will, because he's my guilty pleasure. Anyways, but I remember it was like part of his, he was like number one on MySpace when they had like music on there and stuff. And he did everything in his basement or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was like the first line of his bio was like self-recorded. And it was always just like, yeah, but it's amazing because it kind of almost sounds like what they're making in the real studios. Whereas like now it's like, no, because it doesn't sound like that, we like it. And I'm on that train. I'm like, thank goodness, like that sounds like a human made it, and not like, I love Coldplay, but when I listen to new Coldplay, I'm like, that sounds perfect. Like that, thank God someone's making records like that, but also that's not me. So thank God.
Yes.
Thank God we have a million playlists. Yeah.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord. I don't have to sound studio. I don't have to sound high end. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, we're living in an age where people are willing to listen to lo-fi. People are willing to listen to sounds of like phones clicking and people singing
Right.
off beat and like shouting shit in the background and just have it like they don't care. And it's
Right.
music. It's fine.
Right.
Doesn't have to be refined and studio. Like those high end like chart songs, those pop like very like
Mm-hmm.
big studio budget songs have their own place. But it's really
Right.
lovely to know that indie songs like bedroom pop or little lo-fi stuff, it has its own place too, has its own audience.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's so much more encouraging too, which that's always what I'm
Yes.
like trying to find artists, not only like for me now, but like people that would have been encouraging to hear when I was starting out and like thought that it was either you either sound like all of those pop songs or you sound like nothing, like or you're nobody. I'm just so glad now there's that much like accessibility to that kind of sound for people who aren't. It's like, yeah, make music. Like you shouldn't have to wait till you can like spend $10,000 on an EP or something like that to get it
No.
to get it right, you know. But anyways.
And sometimes it can create your own sound aesthetic, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Like your stuff, like your music is like I can't put like I don't know if it's jazz, I don't know if it's rock, I don't know if it's
Mhm.
pop, I don't know what it is. And that's what I love so much about it. It's like
Right.
so funky. It's like I don't know what the genre is. And I love those
Yeah.
stuff. Like people who just don't give a frick about, oh, I'm a jazz artist or like, oh, I'm a
Right.
fusion pop art. I'm a like doesn't matter. If it's a good song, it's a
Mhm.
good song. I'm vibing to it. You
Yep.
know, it's so
Yep.
it's so great. I love your music.
Mhm. Thank you. I love
I
your
love
music
it.
too.
Oh, thank you. Damn, it's been the last hour just went by so quickly. The hour is not enough time, but I'm
I
excited to work on some stuff.
yeah,
Our
I'm
little
gonna
music babies.
yeah.
I'm excited.
I'll make sure to follow up every single day just to annoy you.
Oh yeah, do it. Do I need that? I need that little like nagging in the end because I have such a lack of like people telling me what to do, and I hate people telling me what to do. I really
Yeah.
hate it. That's why I ditched the 9 to 5 job because I hate like kissing ass. I hate it so much.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
also like I need that. I need that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need it. That's why I work with my managers. That's why I tell them to actually nag them. I ask them to like remind me if I'm not following up on something. So do
Right.
follow up. Maybe not every
Okay.
day, but
Yeah.
it's Thanksgiving too, right? This week
Mhm.
for you. So
Mhm.
enjoy the holidays and maybe nag
Thank
me
you.
after you have some turkeys and little gravies or whatever you have in
Yeah,
America.
yeah. That's exactly what
Yeah.
I'll have. You nailed
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Sounds great. I'm probably gonna have my kimchi and whatever.
Yeah. That sounds great also.
Okay. It was really lovely talking to you, Ted.
Yeah, thank you for making some time. I appreciate it.
No, this was fun. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to
Bye,
you soon.
Ted.
Bye.
Bye bye.